Hello, it's time for another video in the I Ching series. If this is your first video in the playlist of the I Ching and Qigong, the Ba Society playlist, you can start from here, but you may want to check out the other ones. Especially if you don't know what the I Ching is. Check out the early videos of the playlist. And if you like this channel and you like this video, then feel free to share it anywhere. And to subscribe, obviously, if you haven't subscribed yet. So today we're doing, from the Magician's I Ching, hexagram number 18, which is Gu, repair. And I'm just going to draw it here. Wait 1 second. Oh, what the... Okay, now it's ready. So this is repair, which, as you can see, has on the bottom. Just a second. On the bottom, it has the element of air, and on the top, it has the element of earth or mountain. Wind or air, or earth or mountain, so it's earth over air. And the symbolism of this hexagram is wind blows down the foot of a mountain. That's the image associated with this hexagram. The main description of this hexagram is: what has been decayed now begins to be repaired. Gentle success. Cross the great river. What came before will come again. Look carefully at what took place 3 days before. You can then predict what will be done for the next 3 days. So this is a hexagram that has to do with looking into history, into the past, in order to repair, to rectify. That's another word that this could have been called rectification, right? To rectify the errors of your father or the errors of your mother. So this is a very important theme that you see in the kind of ancestral worship culture of Chinese civilization. The veneration of your ancestors, the care for your ancestors, the importance to family, the necessity for ritual mourning when your parents die. All of these things, but here we see presented an example of one of the problems, which is children inherit the errors of their parents, right? They have to take on the failings of their parents, and this is a very big, kind of theme to touch on, right? This is about being able to boldly look into the past and to try to correct those errors and to try to, in that way, change the future. So this is what is meant by look carefully at what took place 3 days before. You can then predict what will have to be done for the next 3 days. So part of that message is saying that, whatever are the problems of the past, and I mean, it could be literally a parent, right? It could be literally something to do with your parents, but it could also be some other aspect of the past, an error that has that you have inherited in some way, right? It could be your ancestors, or it could be some other context of some other incident or thing that leaves a mark that you have not repaired. And if you haven't repaired it, you have to repair it, because otherwise you're never going to be whole. You're going to end up having a state of rot within you. And in fact, the word gu, the word for what is this hexagram, can be translated into larva. And the symbolism related to that imagery is of a bowl that has been overturned and then left there with bits of food in it. And then when you get to it and turn it over, it's full of little maggots or something like that, larvas. So this is a toxic situation that has been caused by a bad choice in the past, but also by neglecting that choice as you get to the future. So part of the problem is the thing that happened, let's say what your father did or what your mother did or something like that. But part of it is you haven't dealt with it yet. So until you've rectified the errors of your father and your mother, you're not going to get anywhere, right? So it says, what is decayed now begins to be repaired. So this is the time to look at that repairing. Gentle success, that means it's slow, a slow and steady process is what will bring success. Cross the great river, it means go forward into some new thing, right? Is move into another environment. It could mean often literally going on a journey, or it could mean to make a move into an unknown territory for yourself, right? And then it says, what came before will come again. Look carefully what took place 3 days before. You can then predict what will have to be done for the next 3 days. That's the description of this hexagram. The great work says, the superior individual stimulates hearts and nourishes the people's virtue. The commentary says, when people are receptive, decay can be rectified. Only hard work going forward can bring opportunities. Heaven's activity is such that all endings are followed by new beginnings. So the theme here is of atoning for the errors of your parents. And it could even include, for example, a reference to the story of King Wen, Chief Wen, the head of the Zhou tribes, who had not successfully overthrown the corrupt Shang dynasty, but then his sons complete that for him. They repair the error of their father in not having defeated the Shang emperor, you know. The lines. Line 1 says, children fix the errors of their fathers. The dead are exorcised of blame. Evil is repaired. Sons can complete their father's work. Luck in spite of danger. So it's talking here kind of like of a ritual exorcism to atone for parental errors. It says you have to look at the ghosts that are haunting you because of past mistakes, right? And you have to remove that, and you have to remove the blame of that from the dead, right? You have to part of what you have to do in order to correct the errors of your parents or of your ancestors or of whoever is to liberate yourself from blaming them, right? From resentments you might have towards your parents or towards whoever it is in this case. So if you're clinging to resentment, you're never going to be able to rectify that error. It requires a pure heart to perform the exorcism, you know. And that doesn't mean you have to like suddenly you have to suddenly like them or something like that. But it does mean that you have to be willing to let go of clinging to the quality of blaming, right? Because that is part of why it is rotted through time into your present, you know. So there's a lot of danger here. There's a lot of psychological danger, at least, right? That you can run into a whole bunch of barriers to being able to achieve this. But if you're diligent and if you have a bit of luck, then you're going to get through this and be able to complete this process of repair. Line 2 says, children fix the errors of their mother. Though difficult, push rightly and wait for the right opportunity. So it sounds almost like it's harder even to fix the errors of your mother, right? Because a father is a bit easier to blame sometimes, right? A father, is a different thing from a mother, and so with a father you can maybe end up angering towards your father more easily, and then also letting go more easily, right? With a mother, to get to the place where you recognize the errors of your mother, that she wasn't a saint or something like that, right? And then to be able to go through the process of fixing those errors, which are so much more fundamental errors, because the mother has such a greater connection to you as a person, right? Because of because of the womb, and because of the early influence. The father's influence grows larger as a child gets older. The mother's influence is intense, or the absence of that influence is intense, right? So sometimes the error could be not being there, right? So you have to push rightly, you have to be dedicated, but you have to wait for the right opportunity. Line 3, taking responsibility for a father's errors may bring regret, but no blame or harm. So in line 3, you have to be prepared to accept these errors of your father, and that will bring a responsibility on you to do certain things that you might not enjoy. You might be regretful about having to do these things. There might be consequences for you, but it is necessary in order to get beyond them. If not, it's going to get worse. If you linger, it's going to get worse. And that's where line 4 comes in. So it says, failure to resolve your father's errors will eventually cause regret. It'll be harder to repair the longer you put it off. So it'll be hard. It's difficult to repair the errors. But if you're just ignoring it, then the consequences will keep getting worse as you go along, right? Line 5, taking responsibility for your father's errors, by virtue you will win honor and praise. Where line 5 is the ruling line of this hexagram, and it represents that king role. So here we have again this story connecting to maybe King Wen and his successors, his sons, King Wu, that ends up ruling in his stead, correcting the errors of his father and becoming the rightful founder of the Zhou dynasty. But you notice he honors his father by making him posthumously the founder. So King Wen is thought of as the true founder of this dynasty, even though he died before the Shang were overthrown. In any case, taking responsibility for your father's errors, if you do this in a virtuous way, it will ultimately, after these difficulties that you see in line 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, when you get to line 5, then you'll see that it generates virtue within you to go through this process of, as one prominent thinker of the modern era says, going into the underworld to rescue the spirit of your father, right? If you do that, when you come out of it, that's what this hexagram is about. And when you come out of it, you've changed as a person. And so you now have a totally different perspective on how to enact virtue, and one that will basically make you an adult. You don't really get to a state of full maturity until you've managed to make that reconciliation to the errors of your parents. And your parents might be dead or they might be alive, but the point is that's the moment when you can recognize their errors and take the means to repair them in terms of what it is meant for you, right? And now we get to line 6, which says, serve your will more than any king or prince's commands. Because once you've gotten to that point, when you get above that, the 6th line in the hexagram, remember, is always the symbol of the sage. It's what is beyond the boundary of the regular hexagram, and so it's that which is above it all. So once you have completed this process, this exorcism, this repair, now you know yourself in a way you never did quite before, because before that self that you thought you knew was still intermingled, and it was in some way infested in that same sense of goo meaning larva, right? It was in some way sullied by these influences, these conditionings, these negative conditionings of your past. When you've overcome that, now you have a clear vision on your will, and so now you don't need to follow the dictates of superiors or the guidance of superiors, your mom or your dad or your boss or your pastor, right? or you know, just your friend, right? These people are the inheritors of that relationship that you had with your mother or with your father, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your wife, your husband, whatever. All of those end up being reflections of that initial relationship. And if you haven't reconciled that initial relationship, then you're not going to have the level of true independence within your own consciousness to be able to not end up having similar cases, though lesser, of influence over you that causes reactions in you that could get in the way of you living out your authentic will. So I guess that's everything for today. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out The Magician's I Ching if you want the whole collection of hexagrams and a lot more information about the I Ching. Check out the rest of this playlist. Check out the other playlists. And if you find the I Ching and Qigong particularly interesting to you, I would suggest you consider looking into joining the Yi Fa Society. You can get in touch and we can send you a form to see if you would be a good fit. And if you don't want to do that, well, also check out in the description below, there's a link to a mailing list that does not send you any mail except one. When you sign up, it will send you a sign-up confirmation email. And look at that email. And in that email, you're going to find a link to The Path and the Power, which, just like this is my translation and commentary on the I Ching, The Path and the Power, which will be available to you for free to download from PDF, is a translation and commentary on the Tao Te Ching. So it's a cool thing to get, right? And it's free. I just want to share it with people. So this is a way to connect. And at some point we used to be sending like weekly and then monthly messages with collections of links to all of my chats and talks and things like that. But we haven't done that in quite a while, and I don't think it'll be likely to pick up again. But you can still get the book, and why not, right? It's something I'm giving away. So thank you very much, and please be sure to share this video if you know anyone who might find it interesting. And again, subscribe, hit the like button, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.